tracking, silent movement, stalking, how to hunt and fight with a knife, lance, and bow and arrow. At the same time, he infused Mark with much of the pride and strength of the Cheyenne brave. Together, the professor, the Indian, and Mark entered a conspiracy to battle crime, corruption, and evil wherever they found it. Mark was the fighting man. The death of the professor's niece led directly to Mark's first campaign against the Los Angeles mafia boss, Don Pietro Scarlelli. Mark's training in weapons and explosives gave him the edge, and he nearly wiped out the family and its lucrative heroin operation. In the process, Mark liberated over $500,000 of mafia money, which was used to bankroll the penetrator's subsequent operations. From there, he moved quickly into other areas. In Las Vegas, a dirty racket took enthusiastic and innocent dance students and turned them into nude dancers and house prostitutes in a gambling casino. Mark brought the whole operation to ruin around a pair of lovely shoulders. Washington, D.C., New York City, New Orleans, La Paz, Mexico, all felt his deft touch with a killing .45 slug, a rocket launcher, or a wad of high explosives. After Los Angeles, the penetrator became a wanted man by law enforcement agencies. Yet they had no real clue as to who he was. There were dozens of fingerprints on file, said to be his. But each time he operated, the prints were different. That was because the penetrator used second skin gloves with random fingerprints built into each one. The penetrator became an enigma to FBI and local police departments alike. But to the public, he turned into a Robin Hood type, who helped the little guy, who battered, bloodied, and wiped out mafia, hoodlums, crooks, and dishonest politicians with a spray of bullets or an explosive charge. Only 6 persons knew who the penetrator really was, and none would ever talk, even though one was a high official in the U.S. Department of Justice, which was also hunting Mark. The penetrator never fired at police or peace officers, unless he had good reason to know they were criminals themselves. Mark Hardin moved out of the country twice, once to Tokyo and the Far East on a vacation, only to have it cut short with an assignment north of Tokyo to find a missing famous woman scientist. He tackled the Sendai Purple's nightmare of crime and reduced the machine to a jumbled mass of unrelated parts. Next, he landed in La Paz, Mexico, to trace a missing benefactor of the professor. Now, rested and ready, Mark was not quite sure what his next project would be. There were so many candidates who deserved attention. Back at the stronghold, Mark turned to the TV news. He followed closely a story from Seattle. It tied in directly with another lead Mark had been tracing in the Northwest. He wondered if the professor had dug up the information he had asked for. Mark resolved to phone his old Vietnam buddy, Jim Warner, and find out what the feeling was in the Seattle Police Department. Mark felt a surge of excitement charge through him. It was a scent, that indefinable something that the penetrator always sensed when he had a good, solid lead. There seemed to be some very strange events taking place in Seattle, and from all appearances, they seemed to involve members of the Seattle Police Department. Mark relaxed, thinking through what he knew, and he had a strong feeling he would be going to the Northwest very soon. Chapter 1. A Burned Offering. He stood in the shadows, waiting. Nothing had moved on the block for over an hour. A light blue Chevy broke the silence, grinding around the far corner, moving slowly, lights off. Then it turned into the alley where he waited, hesitated, and rolled to a stop 100 feet from the street lamp. The car's brake lights blinked twice, looking like fuzzy red balls in the thick Seattle marine fog which had settled down an hour ago and wouldn't leave before dawn. Cautiously, Patrolman Leonard Kennelly leaned out to see better, watched the signal from the taillights, then checked to be sure the alley was clear before he moved toward the car. Kennelly paced